This One's Wife. Sentebale Sinks. Can you hear that noise? Listen carefully. There, do you hear it? No, it's not the sound of wailing and gnashing of teeth from Monty Shit Show, but it's a marching sound. Yes, boots moving in sync, crunching the gravel, walking across the stones, stomping across the earth. Do you know what that is? Yes, it's the Sussex's inexorable march of failure continuing. One cannot help but observe the crumbling edifice that is Sentebale, the charity once heralded as Prince Harry's noble tribute to his late mother, Diana, Princess of Wales. Founded in 2006 alongside Prince Sisio of Lesotho, it was meant to be a beacon of hope for children afflicted by HIV and AIDS in southern Africa. Yet, here we are, in the stark light of 2025, witnessing its descent into a funding crisis so profound that it has to resort to laying off nearly all of its London staff, 4 out of 5 to be precise, including the global head of finance and compliance. Redundancies ripple through its African teams as well, with at least 24 staff shown the door since March. The Mamahato Children's Centre in Lesotho, once a vibrant hub hosting over 700 children annually for educational camps, now lies effectively mothballed, its staff instructed to work from home in a desperate bid to conserve what little remains of its £1.4 million reserves, painstakingly accumulated over 2 decades. This is not mere misfortune. This is the hallmark of a charity floundering, bleeding dry under the weight of internal strife and external repudiation. Donors, those steadfast pillars who once propped up Sentebale's mission, are fleeing in droves. A recent fundraiser fell disastrously short of expectations, with legacy supporters explicitly citing the ongoing involvement of the chairwoman Sophie Chandauka as their raison d'etre for withdrawal. The charity's own redundancy letter from April lays bare the grim reality. We do not have donor funding, it confesses, positioning the organisation firmly in retrenchment. Even as Sentebale publicly insists that funders responsible for 2/3 of its income remain loyal, the evidence screams otherwise. A damning indictment of mismanagement and reputational carnage. At the heart of this debacle stands the Prince of Pink Pancakes, ensnared in a web of his own making and that of his wife. His failure here isn't incidental, it's emblematic, a resounding echo of the myriad collapses that have punctuated his post-royal existence. Sentebale was his brainchild, a project born from his compassion, inspired by his mother's legacy and his youthful idealism. Yet, under his patronage, or rather in the shadow of his recent actions, it's withered. The feud with Chandauka, which erupted into public accusations of harassment and bullying at scale, has been the catalyst for this downfall. Harry, locked in a bitter dispute, saw the board resign en masse in March, decrying Chandauka's almost dictatorial style. He and Prince Sisio stepped down as patrons, declaring the situation untenable. Chandauka fired back on Sky News, alleging that Harry sought to eject her through bullying and harassment, claims that he vehemently denies. The Charity Commission's report, see parts passing, was a scathing rebuke, condemning both parties for allowing their spat to play out publicly, thereby severely impacting the charity's reputation and eroding public trust in charities writ large. No evidence of a culture of bullying, harassment or misogyny was found, although the Commission wisely noted it did not adjudicate upon those matters. Sentebale, undeterred, hints at reopening the fight in another forum, but such posturing only underscores the chaos. Former staff loyal to Harry across the UK, Botswana and Lesotho whisper that Chandauka has run the organisation into the ground, incensed by her initial demand for £2,200 a day as a daily rate as chairwoman, a figure she later withdrew, but not before it created outrage. She counters that it was Harry himself who proposed paying her this amount. Deflection or truth? What is clear is that, as a consequence of his ensnarement by this one's wife, Harry took his eye off the ball. Furthermore, it does appear that Dr. Chandauka has some form. Previously, she's been involved in charitable exercises that foundered. And might it just be that Harry and this one's wife found themselves going up against a similar beast to that of this one's wife, with the result that they were, to use the classic phrase, markled? Might it be that Dr. Chandauka had an eye for herself and her own promotion, and as a consequence of that, Harry was outmanoeuvred, and this one's wife, with her desire to ensure that Dr. Chandauka spoke up favourably in respect of her, and the fact that Dr. Chandauka was dismayed by this one's wife's behaviour at the trophy giving, may well have decided that she was going to teach them a lesson. And as a consequence of such, she has been on the front foot, causing problems herself. Or is it simply the case that she is the victim of smearing? You can make your own mind up as to where the fault lies, but the consequence of all of this is that it points to a clusterfuck. Harry, naturally, is the eternal victim in his own narrative. He regards this floundering as vindication, a twisted affirmation that Sentebale cannot thrive without him. In his mind, now warped by years of narcissistic manipulation and influence, the charity's demise post his departure proves his indispensability. See, he might inwardly crow, without my star power, my royal aura, it crumbles. This is the classic residue of grandiosity, even in one who presents as the empathic underdog. He'll point to the mass board resignation, the donor exodus tied to Chandauka's tenure, and declare himself exonerated. The charity's commission's failure to substantiate her claims will be his shield, a validation that he was the righteous party, ousted by an intransigent foe. Yet beneath this veneer of vindication lies a profound trouble, a gnawing disquiet that Harry cannot fully suppress. Sentebale was more than a charity. It was his legacy, a direct conduit to Diana's humanitarian ethos. Its potential collapse troubles him deeply, stirring remnants of genuine emotion uncorrupted by the narcissistic overlay that now dominates his life. He may well lose sleep over the mothballed Mamahato Centre, the laid-off staff who dedicated years to aiding vulnerable children, the evaporated funds that could have sustained life-changing programmes. This is the Harry of old peeking through, the boy who founded Sentebale at 21, driven by loss and a desire to heal. But such trouble is fleeting, quickly rationalised away in the echo chamber of Monty Shitshow, where failure is always someone else's fault. But herein lies the crux of Harry's blindness. Harry fails to grasp that this is yet another instance where the involvement of his wife, this one's wife, the consummate narcissist, has precipitated failure. Not directly, perhaps, for Sentebale predates her entry into his life, but through the pervasive toxicity she injects into his every endeavour. Consider the pattern. It's irrefutable. Since this one's wife's ascendancy, Harry's world has been a litany of implosions. The royal exit dubbed Megxit, the fracturing of family ties, the sputtering Archwell Foundation with its paltry outputs and donor scepticism, the aborted Spotify deal amid accusations of laziness, the Netflix ventures that veer between mediocrity and controversy. Even Invictus Games, another Harry hallmark, has faced whispers of financial problems and this one's wife's overshadowing presence turning it into a fashion parade. Sentebale's crisis fits seamlessly into this mosaic. The feud with Chandauka escalated in the post-Megxit era, a time when Harry's worldview has been reframed through the lens of victimhood and entitlement, hallmarks of his narcissistic enmeshment. This one's wife's influence is insidious. She amplifies his grievances, positioning every conflict as a battle against systemic oppression, be it racism, misogyny, or bullying. Chandauka's complaints mirrored this script, allegations of racism and misogyny that the Charity Commission dismissed. But Harry's response was pure Monty Shitshow playbook, public statements, media leaks, and a refusal to compromise. Why? Because in the narcissistic dynamic, control is paramount. Harry has been devalued and hoovered repeatedly, his autonomy eroded. He doesn't see clearly. Failures, like Sentebale's, become externalised, never traced back to the root. Imagine, if you will, the internal monologue of this one's wife, her narcissism if it were to speak. Harold, darling, this chairwoman is attacking you because she's envious, because she's part of the establishment that rejected us. Fight back. Make it public. It's the only way to win. And win? No. It leads to reputational suicide. Donors wary of controversy retreat. The charity, once apolitical and focused on aid, becomes a tabloid sideshow. Harry's failure to understand this is poignant. He clings to the illusion that vindication awaits in Sentebale's struggle without him, blind to how this once wife's shadow has tainted even this pure endeavour. Her support manifests as division, her advocacy as alienation. The £400,000 consultancy bill that sparked the problems, a symptom of extravagant spending unchecked, echoing the couple's own lavish lifestyle amid claims of philanthropy. Harry's troubled reaction to Sentebale's demise stems from cognitive dissonance. He knows deep down that his mother's legacy is tarnished, yet he cannot admit the role his marriage plays. In narcissistic terms, this one's wife repeatedly controls him and derives fuel from his turmoil. She soothes with her manipulative reassurances. It's not your fault, H. It's the media, the chairwoman, the system. Accordingly, he remains hucked, failing to connect the dots to previous failures because he's not very clever and he's mired in this narcissistic manipulation. Archwell's 2023 accounts revealed meagre charitable output despite millions raised. Another floundering venture where this one's wife's imprint looms large. The Invictus documentary, Heart of Invictus, flopped, overshadowed by her absence and his wooden delivery. Even the Polo series on Netflix, a nod to Harry's interest for once, reeked of contrived glamour and not substance. Sentebale's redundancies, 27 staff culled in a deliberate and responsible move, as per the charity, highlight the human cost. London operations decimated, senior roles shifting to Southern Africa in a bid for efficiency. Yet the core issue persists, funding evaporation tied to the public feud. Harry will see this as proof of Chandauka's incompetence, a vindication that bolsters his ego. "Without me, it's chaos," he cries, ignoring how his own petulant resignation exacerbated the crisis. Troubled? Absolutely. For the children of Lesotho, the HIV program stalled. But that trouble is sublimated into anger at external forces, never introspection. The blindness to this one's wife's role in the sinking of Sentebale is the tragedy. Her involvement in his life has systematized failure. Every project touched by this one's wife wilts. The Sadim touch. Sentebale, once independent, became collateral in their war on the world. The chairman row, inflamed by Harry's post-Megxit paranoia, mirrors the royal rift. Accusations flying, bridges burned. He fails to see the pattern because acknowledging it would shatter the illusion of their fairy tale. Vindication in Sentebale's floundering, a Pyrrhic victory, for it underscores his isolation. Troubled by demise? Fleetingly, but then is rationalised away. Sentebale's crisis is Harry's failure writ large, a charity floundering without the very essence he once provided, yet he revels in imagined vindication while suppressing true sorrow. All the while, he's oblivious to the narcissistic thread that weaves through his life. The source material, that damning Times article about Sentebale, lays it bare. Redundancies, donor flight, mothballed centres. Yet Harry marches on, blind to who the architect is of his downfall. How many more legacies must crumble before the scales finally fall from his eyes? I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.